My name is Adewole OLUFEMI Olanisu. I'm a physician, pulmonologist, working at OBAFEMI University Hospital Complex, and I'm a professor of medicine at the OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University here in ILE-IFE. Where I had my medical studies at the Premier University, the University of Ibadan, and then I subsequently had my postgraduate training from National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, and where I specialize in internal medicine and pulmonology. And I think I've been in the university now for the past 12 to 13 years. Okay, I think I would like the word patented because yes, I don't know who would term your research as groundbreaking. Okay, so but it's been patented. Yes, it's been involved in a couple of patented research and one or two also ongoing. Okay, we have one that we call it's a sweat TB test. The sweat TB test is a test that you can use to detect or screen for tuberculosis using sweat. Ordinarily, you are going to use sputum to do that. So you have to bring out sputum, cough out sputum, and then they will take your sputum to the lab. And sometimes it could be a day, 2 to 3 days before you get the result. So, but with this sweat TB test, you could apply this strip and within 20 minutes you'll be able to get your result, and action can be taken based on that. So that is the very first test. Then we have another version of it that we call sweat saliva TB test that also utilizes sweat and this time again saliva. So you can stick it into your mouth, and then within 15-20 minutes you can get the result again, and then it can tell you whether you have TB or not, and you can now decide to go for further testing if you want, or based on that action can be taken. Now these are fairly new things because up and up to now no test is available using sweat or using saliva to diagnose tuberculosis. I would say all over the world. Okay, so and this is more or less the first of such globally, and that, maybe that's the beauty of it, that kind of a thing. So you could have your test done, if possible, within your room. Yes, you could test your housemate, you could test anybody you want to employ to come and work with you. You could do regular testing, and the goal is to ensure that a large number of people who has TB are detected early enough before they develop complications, and which is a big problem for us in Nigeria. So early detection. Now the other one which you also working on is the electronic dot that is still in the pipeline. Also related to that, what we are trying to do with that is to see how to remotely monitor patients who are on treatment. Now, at this moment, patients have to come to hospital to see their adherence to treatment. They have to take their drugs for 6 months, every day for 6 months. I'm sure you are not going to, you probably will not complete antimalarial doses for 3 days. By the second day, you have phoned it up. But for TB, by the time patients are well within the first 2 weeks, they're forgotten their drug. And that brings a lot about resistance and then complications. And so we now decide to look at a system to encourage them to take their medication by saying, rather than coming to hospital every day, we can track your adherence at home, wherever you are. So, and that is the electronic dot system, which we're also working on presently. Okay, yeah, the major donor is Grand Challenges Canada. Yes, the Grand Challenges Canada, whether maybe the government of Canada will provide the major donor, and they are the one that provided the bedrock for which is to start, and that was the major funding that they gave in 2014. Okay, and so that has continued up to now. Not that the funding from them continued, but at least that has kickstart the whole process. Along the way, we were able to get some funding, some little funding from Roddenberry Foundation in the US, and then the African Innovation Foundation have also supported in one way. Of course, there are individuals. One person who I probably just thought about what I'm doing was a very elderly professor, and he's also supported with the personal fund of his own. So I don't know that allow me to be mentioned of his name, but those are some of the ways, and of course, personal. Yes, so the collaborators ab initio were some group in the US, yeah, which we worked initially on the proof of the principle. So we worked together on that. They are collaborators, fine, but they were essentially paid for what they did. So in the real sense of it, they do not really have any claim on the work, as the case may be. They are collaborators. So, but of course, there are new people with whom we are developing the strip now. We are developers, okay, in the US, with whom the strip is being developed. So Romonix is a biomedical company in the US, and together with some of his own subsidiaries and collaborators, they are the ones that are working on to collaborate to show it. I don't know whether it's good to show the test, or you probably ask me at some point. At that point, oh well, this is just what this is the one of the earliest prototype of it that we have. So this is particularly one that can serve both essentially as a saliva test. You can go through a saliva test, so you can insert it into your mouth, especially the gum. Let it collect some gums fluid for about a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, then we provide a buffer solution that you can put it into for another 5 minutes, and then within a few minutes you can read the result as either positive or negative. So, and you can decide on that. So this is the sweat saliva TB test prototype, okay, that we have presently. But you have the one that you essentially just attach to your skin. Yes, attach to your skin. Yes, and you leave it there, and then you can read on. Well, I think like it probably stems from my work. I'm a physician, I'm a pulmonologist. I see a lot of patients with TB, and I see the challenges we go through in making diagnosis in them. Not so much particularly for the patients in terms of coming up and down the hospital to get their result. That's sometimes a challenge for the patient. And so it is out of what I see commonly in the clinic with patients that this came up. And I do also now realize that most of these patients also complain of excessive sweating. So it is in that process that, it came up, why can't we look at this sweat and see whether we can get something that could be used to detect TB? And that took us a whole lot of gamut of experimentation, collecting the sweat, analyzing it, doing all sorts of mass spectrometry, and characterizing the markers, validating the markers, and before, we come to Eureka. Yes, I think it's so clear now the applicability is it. The main goal is to make TB diagnosis faster, to make it patient-friendly. I don't know if you know anybody who've been to the hospital and has to bring out a sputum. Most times patients are unable to bring out sputum, they're only able to bring out saliva. And so saliva wouldn't get them any test. Some patients are even afraid of sputum because they consider it messy, isn't it? So when you look at all those aspects, in the times it delays with sputum, the messy nature of it, and for the mere fact that virtually not all centers are able to accurately use sputum to detect. You go to the S center today, they collect your sputum, you probably have to transport it to somewhere else, and then you say go home, come back 2 days. And what we know is by the time a patient is coming to hospital in the first place, he has already infected about 12 to 14 people with TB. Now, rather than for that chain to be broken at that point, it's a go, keep infecting more people. So you can see the problem. And so by the time they are now coming, they have developed some form of complication. And there are some individuals that are not even able to produce sputum. In children, for example, they are not able to produce sputum, so that becomes a challenge. Some people that have co-infection, other diseases like HIV, cannot produce sputum, and that becomes a challenge as well. And when you also now look at the problem we are facing in Nigeria, Nigeria has one of the highest TB burden in Africa. Yes. And Nigeria also has the highest number of undetected TB cases globally. It's just about 25 to 30% of estimated TB burden in Nigeria that are detected. You have the remaining 60% in our community not detected. So we need something that we can also rapidly deploy into the community that can be used to rapidly screen people and detect them. And asking 100 million people to come into your hospital to be screening for TB will be impossible. Going to the community with microscopes, sputum bowls, generators to go and test people will definitely be impossible. But you can go into the community, or somebody can get to the pharmacy, get to buy this, test himself, and then if he's positive, is now says, okay, I can go for further testing. Now, one other value addition which we are doing for this innovation is to also provide a toll-free line. That toll-free line will enable anybody, I've been tested with this and I think my result reached positive. What will you advise me to do? So we can, if that's the case, where do you live? Okay, I live at this place. You can get to this place for further testing, or you can see this clinic for further advice. So on the long run, globally, overview, we think this is going to help Nigeria as a country to reduce the burden of TB, improve detection rate among people. And TB is a disease of poor people, they say. But they say sometimes the rich also cry. And when the rich cry, it's a very bad cry. Don't look at the mouth when they cry, So it's because the disease of poor people, assume much more than that, is a disease of people in the economically productive age group. So we have a GDP going down. We have people who are economically active being affected. And so how do you think our economy will grow? It's going to be difficult. And it's been known that you spend almost indirectly over 300 billion as indirect cost of TB. So if we can reduce that, that will definitely help our economy to grow. So it's an holistic and I say an integrated innovation. Well, I think like you rightly noted, it essentially is a medical device, and it virtually covers everybody. Health is for everybody. So, if you, as individuals, yes, wherever you are working, it covers you to a large extent. But I think there may also be some advantage or some possibilities in that it might just increase and bring more to the fore creative awareness and ideas about people from our people, and it may change orientation of people, and it may definitely enable probably some value additions along the way. If you're able to fully commercialize this, it will go beyond medical device. It will provide job along the way for different people along the way. So I think that everybody benefits really. Yeah, that you said is virtually answer it. It's like we started research should link to positive impact, and this is one of the ways we are coming up with our own work. And definitely entrepreneurs will be interested because it is the market for TB is huge, and it's very, very huge. And one thing you will also realize is the fact that, like we said, Nigeria is a haven for TB, a TB endemic country. Virtually all what we are using for TB are imported. Virtually all what we are using for TB are product of other people's brain, isn't it? And it's just like we have a problem that people are solving for us, and they're making money out of it for us. So I think there is a huge market for this device in Nigeria, which entrepreneurs can key into. And the same goes for policymakers. It is a very cost-effective device that it will probably cost us less than 20 or 30% of what we are using presently in TB to do it. Why not even in our universities to screen in new students who are coming to school for TB? I mean, if people sometimes we ask them to do the straight up and down, the straight will break down. Sometimes they have to move up and down. But you can have a device that we could do even when you get to the consulting route. Oh, it is this, then you can take for that test. So I think it will definitely change a lot of things, and I think the market is far beyond Nigeria. Even the news is far beyond Nigeria, and the fear really is like most things. Nigeria will only just catch up later when the other parts of the world are moving on. So I think there's a place for them, and they are welcome if they are interested in working with us. Well, that's a very good question. The challenges are bound to happen. Like you said, we started 2014, and one of the major challenges was the fact that the initial hypothesis did not work, and that was a real setback. It was more or less that this was abandoned because it seems to be no way forward any longer. But I probably say, probably by divine encouragement or divine inspiration, you have to look at other side of it, and look at other side of the hypothesis, and things seems to be brighter. Even the initial hypothesis that seems not to work, it now became clear that there were one or two things that were missing there, and so that was why we started up again. So there are challenges in which hypothesis didn't work as we initially planned it. That probably is an issue, and like we said on most of the initial experimentation analysis that we need to do we have to get to outside of the country to do it. We got to go to the US to do that, and you need to get permit for transporting specimen or back and forth and all those. Sometimes the specimen got spoiled on the way, so to say, during shipment. So, but I think we eventually, thank God, we're able to overcome all those, and we move. Of course, the challenge of fund will always be there, okay? And one thing people will always say when you meet them is the fact that you're Nigerian, your country is very rich. Your country is very rich, so I don't know why can't they support this. You know, so that is challenge of funding to move forward is an issue, and people have an idea that we are rich in our country, and so they wonder if your country is not supporting you, then what's the thing? But thank God we are able to get support, and like you said, virtually all of the support we have received so far are from outside the country, not except one senior professor or mentor of mine who decided to support. Yeah. Research integrity, the word integrity is actually derived from integra, so which implies wholeness. So when you are talking of research integrity, you are trying to say, is this research whole? Is it whole? Is it wholeness? Is it yes, whole? Is there fragmentation? Is it a complete embodiment of what it's supposed to be? And so it connotes the fact that individuals who are conducting research are following some specific laid down rules and regulations, commonly accepted rules and regulations that make their research very viable, authentic, and genuine. And this integrity starts even from the beginning of conceiving the idea, proposal level, when you are conceiving the idea, when you are carrying out the work, when you are reporting the data, for example, when you are publishing it. So integrity comes into play in all of this, as a matter of fact. So the research integrity enables that the researcher follow laid down procedures, ensure that anybody else that pick up your research output can depend on it, either for optimization, for implementation, or for further studies. So, and I think that's the bedrock of research. Well, I think the main goal really of research is not to have it on the shelf. The main goal of research is to see how research can influence and can positively affect society in one way or the other. That is the main goal of research. And I think it's part of research integrity for a researcher to revert back to the society that somehow supports them in the research, either in providing the fund, either in the way of being part of the subject that you study. It is part of the integrity of research for you to ensure how are they benefiting from the research. And that benefit could be directly or indirectly. Directly could be in terms of product or services which your research is able to bring forth, or it could be in terms of even getting to let them know, oh, you have been part of this research. This is where we find out about this study, and this is the way it could benefit you. So it could be indirect, that maybe information passage that you pass across to the society. So I think research definitely is not complete until it has an impact on the society, and for the impact to be an acceptable one, the whole process of getting the evidence must be devoid of malpractice. Well, I think I think the main thing really is research integrity, flows out from an individual. So I think we cannot really be talking of research integrity if we are not talking of personal integrity. So that's the most important thing. So talk about personal integrity. When you have personal integrity, every other thing flows from that. You cannot single out somebody to be talking to him about research integrity when all of other aspects of his life, he doesn't consider integrity a watchword. So I would think it's something that needs to be preached. And I guess universities are supposed to be people that uphold higher level of moral standard and ethical standard. And so I would not definitely think that there will be a need to really be talking about that because you are supposed to be operating at that level. However, it might definitely be good to continuously remind people about that, because along the way, people could get carried away. Along the way, they could get also into the rat race of you publish or you perish. And so all of that could cause them to forget it. So it might just be good to remind them. But I think as academics, as people in ivory towers, it should be people that has moral standard, high moral standard, as personal integrity, and research integrity should ordinarily flow from that. Oh man, I see it touching the world. I see it making global impact. That's I think what I think. I see it doing that. Every day I think I'm beginning to have new vision, new hope, new divine idea, new inspiration, new encouragement about what it can do. So in 5 years, I see it touching the world, making impact, bringing down reduction in TB in Nigeria, and also leading to development in other areas, other startups, companies or whatever, coming up in different aspects of this. So I see that coming up, and but I hope I can see more so that I can achieve more. Yes, I belong to, of course, I belong to the Nigerian Medical Association. That's the umbrella body of all doctors. I'm also a member of the Nigerian Thoracic Society, which are specialists who are into chest medicine in Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, I was the immediate past Secretary General of the society, just handed over this year, January. Of course, I'm a member of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria and what do you call it? Christian Medical and Dental Association as well as Medical and Dental Consultant Association of Nigeria, the largest, of course. Well, I would say maybe not much for now. Maybe not much for now, except the Nigerian Thoracic Society, which the members have shown a lot of enthusiasm and interest, and they are willing to support in moving it forward. And we are hoping that some of the work we are going to do in the nearest future will be with some of the members of the Nigerian Thoracic Society. Oh well, the pandemic affects virtually everything. So, and I guess in the midst of the pandemic, the most important thing is survival first. You got to be alive to continue research. Yeah. So that's a number one rule. You can do more as long as you are alive and you are healthy. But also you also now realize that even if you are ready to do any work, those who are likely going to partner or collaborate with are locked down because of COVID. So You just have to temporize and take things easy. But of course, despite that dull and lull in activity, it's also been a great time to think and conceive better ideas, even though we are not actively working on some dream. It has also been a time to create some other ideas, think through other ideas, and which by the time the pandemic is gone, you can begin to fly. Well, I think there are many advices to give and many things to say, and one cannot say all in few minutes. But I would say the first thing is, like we started from, live a life of personal integrity. Make it your goal to what? To lead a quiet life and be contented with whatever you have doing or you have. I will also say, which to me, that there's no need to be in a rat race. There's no need for a rat race. Just follow whatever path you have consistently and move on. Of course, there's a place for diligence, there's a place for hard work, there's a place for mentoring. You may not be able to completely do that. That sometimes could be very important. Your mentors or supervisors can give you an idea that you can probably work on, okay? And you cannot overemphasize that to a large extent. And I think researchers should also have at the back of their mind, what is their goal? What are they planning to achieve? And work. You must have a vision. You must have a dream. And you must achieve it. Nothing, other important thing is nothing ventured, nothing gained. Most times we are just thinking and imagining and designing things in our brain, in our head. But until we venture out, we cannot see whether it will work or not. And we must not be afraid of failure. You know? If you probably talk with a lot of people who have won grant, which was also a lot of encouragement to me, they will probably say maybe they have like they win like 2 or 3 grants out of 10 applications, isn't it? So, but the mere fact that you've written 1 or 2 grant applications and they did not go through, it does not mean that is the end of the day. So that is what happens most of the time. And you see some of our people saying, I've written twice to this place, I'm not writing again, let them keep their money. It sometimes doesn't come that way. You may just remember for that maybe the second time you're going to try it to happen. Somebody applied for something a year ago, and in fact he has done everything humanly possible. There's nowhere they will take this thing to that will not scale through. He didn't scale through, and it was more or less like knocking his head against the wall. But thank God the head did not crack. But he was encouraged to apply the second year. He applied the second year. He was not even thinking he's going to scale through, but he will scale through. He will not even believe that they've given him. He said maybe they will withdraw the award. So we have to keep on trying. We have to keep on trying. And I will say, based on my own faith, that you should never give up. Never lose sight in God. The Holy Book says there's a spirit in man. The inspiration of the Almighty giveth him understanding. So you can tap that spirit, and that spirit is that same spirit of God. So I will encourage that people to do that. Of course, there will also be need to work together in partnership, in collaboration. You will need to develop teams that are functional, not teams that are just there. Teams that are functional, whereby everybody in the team is bringing up something to the table. I mean, that it may be very important at some point as a thing. So that will be few advice I will give to every, upcoming researchers as it is. And I think the environment, the OAU environment, is a very good environment to nurture great ideas. The management, where as a hospital, if you are born in health sciences. But let's look at the university as the environment itself is captivating, is stimulating, should inspire a lot of ideas in people. Walking down the roadside, you have the walkway. In the evenings, you hear the birds singing over your head. That should bring up some ideas, creative thinking. So I think the environment, and I thank the management for still maintaining it. It should bring greater dream and greater ideas out. That would be my little advice.